right.
All right.
So look, man, before we start this, I've got you a present. But we have to try it now.
Okay. All right. Let's see. What you got? Oh, Topper's rum. Sweet.
This is locally made here on the island. And this one is Mocha Mama.
Mocha Mama.
And
sounds promising.
It's chocolate coffee flavored rum. It's the best rum I've ever had, I think.
Really? Awesome. Let's try a shot.
Yeah, so let's pop this open and try some.
James asked me for a couple of cups. I had no idea why. And now I know.
Should have known.
I should have known. I thought he was going to put his dentures in them.
That'd be funny if I did that. My dad had a buddy with wooden teeth, and he said that the guy loved fighting.
Oh, yeah.
And he would, before he got into a fight at a bar, he would take his teeth out and put them on the roof of whatever car was nearby.
Yeah.
If I saw someone do that, I'd be like, yeah, you win, bud.
Yeah, I know. It's Steve Inman. You know who Steve Inman is, right?
Mm-hmm.
The guy who does the play-by-plays, like UFC calling on just like random videos that people have of like fights on the street and stuff like this, and people getting hit by cars during like protests and whatnot. And he's hysterical. And he's got this one where this guy's like squaring off on the street against like a bouncer, and he like takes his glasses off and hands them to his friend, and he goes, that's so old school. Like we used to do that when we were kids. Nobody has glasses anymore. We all like had LASIK or whatever.
I got to see this guy. Is he a YouTuber? Is he?
Oh yeah, he's on YouTube for sure. It's definitely like above 18. They've just recently Twitter's like made it like you have to be you have to sign in to prove that you're an adult.
Yeah, they've been doing that to my videos, and it's crazy. When I get it, like demonetizes my entire video because
people don't want to be.
Because this is the thing: you have to upload a credit card and a picture of your driver's license.
No way.
To Google. Everybody's like, that's a bit nuts. It's a little bit more than I'd like to try. Did you try it yet? Cheers.
Yeah, it's excellent.
It's really good, huh?
It's quite sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's sweet, but it's also sweet. It's sweet tasting.
It's a novelty liquor.
For sure.
All right. Cool. I'm so glad that both of you are here. Okay. Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of Between Two Sheets, where we interview interesting people from around the world. I've got very special guests for you today. They own a sister ship to my boat, another Oyster 485, a nicer Oyster 485. This is Kevin and Wendy. They also have a YouTube channel, Sailing Talisman, on YouTube. I'll put the link right here, and if you guys want to check them out, please go and sub to them. Very interesting people, very knowledgeable about boats. You've owned this boat for 6 years, I think you said?
About 6 years.
Going into the 6th year, we bought in the summer of 2017, I believe, and we've been sailing more or less full-time. I mean, we take off a little bit for the off-seasons and whatnot, but we've been on board. We're live-aboard sailors, for sure.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. How did you get into sailing, and what did you do before that?
Well, I got into sailing as a kid. I worked at a sailing school, and I fell in love with sailing early. And then when Kevin and I met and got married, I took him on a trip to the British Virgin Islands to the Bitter End Yacht Club and got him hooked on Caribbean sailing. We started doing bareboat charters. The next thing I know, we own a little Catalina 22. And
oh, that was your first boat together?
Yeah, first boat together.
Oh,
so that was our little
sailor.
starter boat.
Cool.
And we did a lot of fighting over how to sail it and how to fix it. And then we decided to buy a boat and retire from the big world and leave behind all that corporate stuff. And we've been doing it for about 6 years. Really fun.
Yeah, for me, I was sailboarding back when sailboarding was really big in the 90s, and I was going down to Cape Hatteras and all that sort of stuff every spring and fall, and really that was probably sailboarding is very similar to sailing a boat. The concepts are all the same, although your body is the main sheet. That's what connects the sail to the board. And so you really do have a intimate, feel for the wind, much more so than you have on a sailboat. And my feeling is that the larger the boat is, the more forgiving it is of errors anyway. That all the best sailors really start off being dinghy sailors, and that's why Wendy's so good with sail trim. It's just one of those things that you get. If you accidentally jibe this boat, you'll break parts, but you're not gonna sink the boat or capsize it or anything like that. It's a very stable, forgiving boat, within reason. I mean, you could easily do very, very expensive damage sailing it wrong, but and you can have your arms and fingers and toes ripped off. The power that's involved in these things is truly amazing. But if you know mostly what you're doing, I think it's easier to sail the bigger boats.
Have you guys ever done any broaches or major damage to this boat?
To this boat, no. We definitely broached the Catalina a couple times on the lake. We had we were on a mountain lake, and the winds would come up like crazy. And a couple times we had 35 knot winds just come screaming across the lake. Sails completely out, boat on its side, rail in the water. Ah! But luckily, so far on this one, other than when our jib got stuck all the way out, I think we hit 40 knots of wind, but we were prepared for it. We were able to turn up into it, but the boat definitely, that was one of the
Healed.
few times we've healed the boat more than anybody's really comfortable with, but luckily not a broach.
Yeah, the Oyster 485, I mean, one of the things about it that's quite amazing about the sailing capabilities of the boat is that it is a very stiff boat. When they talk about boat design, they'll talk about tender boats and stiff boats. And a tender boat is like a boat, like a laser is a very tender boat. It doesn't have a keel and it just wants to go over all the time. Most of the race boats are tender as well. They get up on heel in order to lessen the wetted surface area of the hull, and they actually sail faster when they're heeled. The 485 really doesn't work that way. It's much faster with the sails reefed and with the mast going straight up and down, plumb. And so being as stiff as the boat is, it's very difficult to heel the boat. It doesn't want to heel. It's got so much ballast. It's a 18-ton dry boat. It's very, very heavy and sea kindly in the open ocean. But it does not like to heel. And so when you are putting the side decks and the winches underwater, you know that you're heeling the boats. You're definitely overpowered. And we, with our, as Wendy kind of started into, for the people that don't know, when we came down from Bermuda this November, our headsail furler failed and wrapped the halyard at the top of the forestay and did a lot of damage up there, and basically locked the system so that we couldn't furl the sail in, and we had to sail, 600 nautical miles with our full 145% Genoa out, with squalls coming literally every hour and a half.
That's
we just
scary.
Spent the entire time dodging.
It was exhausting.
It was exhausting, mentally exhausting. And we got caught, invariably. We got, almost inevitable, I should say. We got caught a few times in a bigger
squall.
In a squall, as a squall hit. And the one time that we got hit the hardest, the boat did actually get run all the way over to one side. And the saving grace of this whole thing was eventually the halyard chafed through. It took about 3 days or 2 days for that to happen, but the Dyneema halyard that we had eventually chafed and released the foil and allowed us to furl the sail in. Of course, then we didn't have any. The power of the sail was gone, and that big sail is the main driver of the boat. But I suppose at that point we had enough fuel to motor the rest of the way to St. Thomas.
We had our staysail out, so we were able to sail in on staysail and mainsail.
We about half sailed, half motored. Yeah. That's another nice thing about the big, the true blue water boats, the ones that are dedicated offshore boats, is they tend to have a lot of tankage. So you have lots of water and you got a lot of fuel. And Talisman can motor for 5 24-hour days and still have probably 100 liters of fuel left. We haven't really tested it down. Depends on how much RPMs you're using along the way.
Your boat is set up a little bit different than mine. It has a very different layout. It's number, if 8. I remember right, 8?
Right.
Mine is number 3. And it has a different engine. So you have a Yanmar.
Mm-hmm.
I have a Perkins. Do you like your setup for your boat?
Yeah, we love it. I think the benefit of the Yanmar at this point is that Caterpillar has bought Perkins and is pretty much has it in mind to discontinue the brand. And so they're not supporting it anymore. And you'll always be able to find filters and that sort of thing. But we have a friend who broke the camshaft, and that was that. There was no more camshafts. Perkins basically said no. And they found somebody. They basically went to a Beta Marine, which is Kubota, as a repower. So they tore the engine out, and they're in the process of putting a new engine in. Getting the engines out of these boats is not easy. Probably the best boat for repowering would be Amel. Amel's, you just open up their deck and you can boom the engine right out. But on the 485, it's pretty shoehorned in, and people have to disassemble the cabinetry and everything to get it apart. And the cabinetry is all doweled together and epoxied. It's really more like a Sawzall type of removal. It's not a unscrew it and take it apart type thing.
Very difficult to take apart. That's damn sure.
Yeah, when they do it, they take off all the heavy parts. You take off the exhaust manifold, the heat exchanger, the head, starter, obviously, all these transmission. You basically just disassemble everything down to the short block, and then once you've got that, you kind of probably hand lift it out at that point. But they're three burly guys.
Yeah.
I did a Perkins 4107 in my Morgan 41.
Oh my!
And we rebuilt it in the boat, and it was a pair. We had to build A-frames on either side of the engine to move it forward to get it off of the transmission. That way we could get the block out. And we took it out with the head on it. And I've done a valve job on this boat, so I've done a head job. And that really wasn't bad. There's really good access. I mean, it's a big boat.
Yeah.
So it's not a Catalina 22 where you're like contorting your body. There's pretty good access once you open everything up.
It's tough. It's tough to get these things out. I think it's one of the reasons why I'm a little bit reluctant. When I see people with sail drive systems, I hate to bring up these problems to people when I know that there's people out there that have boats that have sail drive. All the newer boats have sail drive. And the sail drive system, to replace the diaphragm where that goes through the hull, which is like a big inner tube that kind of isolates the vibrations, it's got like a 10-year service life. And to take it apart, you literally have to disassemble the sail drive off the engine, pull the engine forward off the motor mounts, and undo the spline. And it is a monster job that most people outsource to people, but of course, you're outsourcing it for, it's whatever amount of money, you happen to have. It's a lot of money to have a guy come in and do all that. It's a tough, very difficult job. And the benefit of the sail drive to the manufacturers is that now Yanmar or Volvo Penta take over the warranty for the entire drivetrain. Whereas when you have a direct drive system like James and I have, the warranty kind of ends at the transmission, and then the manufacturer is on the hook for the shaft and the prop and the bearings and everything else where it goes through the hull. And that's probably the big driver for sail drive. It's not exactly something that's a big deal to customers. It's more about the manufacturing.
I never even knew that. That's good to know.
Yeah.
I don't really love sail drive just because if you knock it off your boat, you're done. Like, there's no emergency plug that's this big around.
Yeah.
Indeed. It's basically a very, very large outdrive.
10 inches.
It's like an outdrive
10 inches,
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Lower unit from like a 300 horsepower outboard. It's like that.
I know that because all of the catamarans now have sail drives. And
Really?
it's a 10-inch hole.
That's a scary
There's
thing.
nothing you can do. I mean, unless you're down there with a big plastic bag or something. I don't even know what you would do. Maybe what you could do actually is wait for it to fill up on a cat, and then afterwards go down there and patch it, and then pump the water out.
Yeah, if you had like
the
waterproof
world's biggest
bulkhead.
cork.
Well, yeah, or a huge cork. That'd be really funny though if you had this really big cork. If we could find one 10 inches and be like, oh yeah, this is my sail drive cork.
sail drive cork.
So good.
Yeah, until you go down there to try to bring it down under the
You
boat.
can't get it underneath. It floats you up. It's your emergency life raft.
Kevin, get down here! I need your help.
Pull it across.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The other thing with the sail drive is you really lose any type of rudder kick, which is one of the tools in the toolbox for a lot of boats. Which is if you've got a direct drive system and your prop is right in front of your rudder, you can use rudder kick to kind of push the stern of the boat from one side to the other. If you don't have a bow thruster, or it really helps for us it's one of the only ways you can dock a boat like ours, because with a skeg hung rudder, which is one of the most burly type of rudders you can have, it's very resistant to hitting logs and things like that are in the water, or even sand or running it aground. But the big paddle that's stuck to the back of it is not great in reverse. It's just very difficult unless you're going about 3 knots. It just won't bite. And the production boats are quite a bit better that way, that they have a semi-balanced rudder that has it, and the rudder post is about 2/3 of the way forward on the rudder, and as you turn the rudder, one side goes to one side of the force and the forward part goes to the other, and it creates a like they say, semi-balance. It's not very hard to turn the wheel, but while still giving you some feel about what's going on with it. And those things in reverse are fantastic, but they're a lot more fragile. If you touch them even to sand or bottom, you have to really do a lot of work to make sure that they're inspected. And you might even, for people who've really run a charter boat or something aground where the rudder's actually been in the sand, there's nothing that you can do except pull the rudder and replace it, because there's almost no way to test to find out if the rudder stock has been damaged. If it's metal, if it can be X-rayed, or there's different things you can do, metal dyes and stuff, to see if it's been cracked. But most of those rudder stocks are made of carbon fiber or some sort of composite material, even fiberglass. And once they're compromised, it's impossible to tell until they just break off. So you have to be very, very careful about that. So there's all pluses and minuses of all the designs.
All boats, everything on boats.
There's no free lunch.
Pluses and minuses.
You give up something else.
Yeah, I think that the 485 though is a really good balance. And somebody asked me actually on the last podcast I did, like, what makes your boat so good, James? Why does it sail so good? Because I told him, like, this is the best sailing boat I've ever been on. And I mean that. I mean, I've been on a lot of boats. The only other boat that was on par with it was that Mason 63 that I took across the Pacific. If you guys want to see that video series, I'll link it here. And that was a bad boat, man. Like, perfect design, really pretty. Took 20-foot waves on the beam, nice. No problem. And I've had that on this boat too. Awesome. I mean, like, I can't believe how good this boat sails. And I was actually asking Kevin, like, let's talk about that. And he's like, man, I don't know if I could actually talk about that. I don't know what makes it so good.
Well, what we really said was that we're not even sure that Oyster knows what made it so good.
Yeah, it just works.
It just happened that Holman and Pye, I mean, they designed this boat back before all the CAD CAM programs that they use now. And so it was received knowledge on the part of the boat marine architects, Bob Perry, Kim Pye, like, there's a whole bunch of people out there that are Ed Dubois, if you want to get into the super yachts. These are people who, or Herman Freres from Swan, obviously Sparkman and Stevens, Olin Stevens. These are people that are just, they were gods of the boat design world, and they were apprenticed under other people who understood how to make really strong, stout sailboats. And it was honestly, there was like some sort of secret sauce that only they knew. Olin Stevens was famous for actually calculating and distributing the stability formulas that he developed for how to basically it's a million little pieces of information that are divided by this and multiplied times something else and all this, and eventually come out to tell you how stable a boat's going to be. And these guys were using slide rules and early calculators, to figure out what they were doing, and it's not like it is today. And so Holman and Pye did a wonderful job with this design, and I don't think even they fully knew what the secret was, but it turned out that this boat was extremely fast for its weight and size, and it's incredibly sea kindly. You can sail it in almost any conditions. It's not going to win a race, honestly, against a very light Beneteau or Jeanneau. You will probably lose, but
unless it's 30 knots of wind, in which
unless it's
case you'll
30
kick
knots
their
of
butt,
wind.
because you'll just go right on by, and they'll be like, ah.
There'll be a point of diminishing return for them where the light boat doesn't really help them anymore. But that's is what it is. I mean, you again, there's no free lunch. You have to choose what you want out of the boat. If you're going to just sit at the marina or do coastal cruising, then go buy a production boat. You'll be perfectly happy, and they are saleable all over the world. You don't have to. It gets done.
I tell people that too.
It just needs to be. You have to be a lot more careful about the weather.
Yeah, you have to pay attention more.
More.
And if you're comfortable on the boat and it's a safe boat,
That's really.
And you like the boat.
That's all that matters. Yeah.
Just go.
If you like the boat,
get the boat and go.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
Don't wait. Don't wait for the perfect boat.
Yep.
Yeah, we joke about the forum people on the internet, that sit back in their couch and pontificate about stuff, but they really don't get out there and do it. And they're knowledgeable about all things, but until you've actually gone out there and seen it and understood the power. I mean, the absolute power of the ocean is insane.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes exponentially as it goes from like 40 to 50 knots. That's where things, like they say that the jokes go away. The guy from the Kraken video, the guy from the Kraken 50 was interviewed by one of the other YouTubers, and he said that when you go from 40 to 50 knots or anywhere above 40 knots, he says that's when people stop joking around and stop laughing because it gets totally serious.
It's scary.
Scary.
Yeah.
The wind starts to howl. It just whistles through things. It'll just tear small things right off.
Yeah.
Like biminis and things like that.
Or preventers.
Yeah.
Or shackles.
Yeah.
It'll blow shackles up. I've had that happen before.
Yeah.
You ever had that happen? Like a shackle just explodes?
That's why we keep replacing our shackles in our blocks and stuff with bigger and bigger stuff.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of Swan. I mean, Swan has just, from the dawn of time, they've just used the biggest hardware you could possibly have. And I look at it and I go, that's ridiculous. And then I think to myself,
No, it isn't.
It might not be. There's probably that day when when that comes back to really help out.
Yeah, those are beautiful boats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, more race oriented, but at least the older ones. Mm-hmm. Yeah, fantastic. Those were great boats. This boat's never going to be a swan. It's not designed to be a swan. It's the same burliness as a swan, but Swan always put a lot more emphasis on racing. It was racing within their own class of other swans, but in all conditions. They'd be doing out to I forget that place, the rock that they sail to off of, in Britain. Remember the big race where everybody... Oh, come on, you guys. No,
I don't know.
I don't know.
I know the Sydney Hobart was one.
Yeah,
I know
that's in Australia.
Mm-hmm. I know
the Fastnet race.
Fastnet race, and I forget what year it was when everybody got
nuked.
It was like a perfect storm type thing, and they got pretty decimated. A bunch of boats were sunk, and people lost overboard and whatnot. Mm-hmm. That's the other thing is the English, like the North Sea, up there around
English
England,
Channel
the English Channel and North Sea. That's just it's another step up. It's just crazy weather.
Tell me about where you guys have been.
You want to tell them about Scotland?
Sure.
I'm gonna have. Hold on one second. Okay. I have two of these bottles. I'll give you the non-opened one, but I'm gonna have a little bit more of this.
I
like it. You want some?
For sure.
I think it's like 20% alcohol, so it's not that bad.
I'm sure it's good for you.
It's like that cordial. We'll find out in about 15 minutes.
They had one. At one time.
Scotland.
They have one up there that's raspberry flavored that tastes like candy. It tastes like candy. It's a little too sweet. It's too sweet.
Horrifyingly
Keep away
good.
from the children.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, tell me where you've been. Tell me about how you got the boat, where you've started, and like what your plan is in the future.
So we got the boat in Scotland. I won't go into all the details of how we picked the boat, but we finally found the 485 we wanted, and it was in Scotland. It was on the hard, 7 years. So we went up. Kevin went up first and did a bunch of work on it. And then I came up, and then we had a pretty short weather window to get out of Scotland and down into, we were heading for Gibraltar. So we had to head into Europe. And then with the European Schengen rules, there's a lot of details about how many days you can be places. So we were kind of in a hurry to move through the European countries and back over to Gibraltar. So we sailed straight from Scotland with a transfer skipper because we just got in the boat. And I have to say, it was the best decision of our life to take this gentleman with us. He was amazing. He had helped put the boat back together, and he was able to really train us on our own boat, as well as make sure that we didn't run into something like Ushant, or some large rock.
Honestly, that was Ian Hunter from Hunter Yacht Deliveries
in
Troon, Scotland. And if anybody ever wanted a transfer skipper, he'll fly all over the world and do it. He's kind of an oyster guy. Mostly, but that qualifies him to sail just about anything. and he is his one of his sons is a Volvo ocean race sailor.
Really cool.
Yeah, and he's his other son's like some sort of a triathlete. Used to do a lot of sailing as well, and this is Ian's job to sail through there. And he really did teach us the early ropes about the stuff. I mean, people just buy these boats and they don't really think that you have to check engine belts and oil and coolant and that sort of stuff. Ian would check. We stopped in the middle of the Bay of Biscay to turn the engine off and check oil and belts and everything.
So we came through the Bay of Biscay with our transfer skipper Ian, and landed in the north of Spain. And then he left us, and then we puttered down the coast of Portugal and Spain for probably about a month.
It's fantastic. Fantastic cruising ground. I mean,
really amazing. Just day trips from port to port. The coast is very much marina centric. There's no anchoring off.
Oh, really?
There's a very strong current or tide, about 20 feet. So it's really hard to anchor out there. There's only one or two places that you probably could anchor. And again, since it's a 20-foot tide, it makes it kind of challenging.
Bayona had anchoring.
Bayona had some.
But when you get to places like Faro and further
Porto
south, well, not Porto, but Lecchos.
Yeah.
Some of the other places. It's just very exposed. I mean, it's the Atlantic Ocean. And Lecchos is very close to where those giant surfable waves are. Like the biggest waves recorded in history are like in Portugal. Not really, I mean, but there are these monster waves, and there's a port like right next to it. Yeah. And if you happen to show up one day when those waves are breaking, there's no going in or coming out of that port.
Yeah. I can't even say it. Fungirola? Fungirola, it's spelled.
You're probably bastardizing that word.
Probably, totally.
They literally have a light system to prevent people from coming into the port.
Oh, like red light?
Red light, because it's so
and flags
dangerous.
And stuff.
Flags and everything.
And
so
if you come in
they
when it's
really
closed, they'll fine you heavily, like 1,500 euros.
Oh yeah, because they probably have to like clean your boat up off the rock.
Yeah, exactly.
If you crash, that's different. That's assuming you make it in.
Yeah.
1%. Viana do Castelo.
Yeah, a lot of
that way as well.
Yeah, the Portuguese ports were really fabulous. I have to say, I would gladly cruise Portugal again. Every town was so welcoming. Most of the Portuguese speak very good English. They actually don't have their own television shows, so they get American shows, and they show them with Portuguese subtitles.
Cool.
They don't even have enough money to dub them over. So, I should say not enough money. It's not a big enough market for it. So they all speak excellent English for the most part, and they really welcome tourists. They really love having visitors to their country. They're very proud of it. And they always say, "Oh, we're a poor country."
They always preface everything saying that we're a poor country, and it's a goof on the Spanish because the Portuguese have just fantastic. Their economy does so much better than the Spanish economy, and everywhere you go, they're just more prosperous, and they've got the stores are all open, and you go into Spain, and everything's like halfway shuttered, and it's anyway, it's kind of funny. Cascais.
It's
Portugal,
amazing.
Right outside of Lisbon, is one of the best.
It's like going
to go with a sailboat.
Rolls-Royce factory for sailboats. I mean, it's just like the town is done with inlaid marble, and it's in these patterns.
All the Portuguese towns have this.
Yeah,
it's like these
but Cascais, it's really crazy. It's these.
Are you talking about like outside?
Yeah. So the walkways and the plazas are all in this inlaid marble, and it's in patterns. So in Cascais, it looks like waves in the main plaza.
That sounds sick.
Really
I want to see it.
If you've had too much to drink, you'll get vertigo and just tip over.
And there's a great Irish pub right there. And,
it sounds amazing. I want to go. So where is this on the coast? Like how far up?
It's on the main river going. It's the river that goes into Lisbon. It's
the closest out.
The opening to the river as you come in. Cascais is on the left on the port side as you come in. And it is the Aspen or Vale of Portugal.
Exactly.
It is unbelievable high dollar stuff all over the place.
And an amazing marina. I mean, it is just
cool.
Total top notch.
Bucket list item.
Yeah.
Rad.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
That's the beauty of going like to Europe, is that there's so much history. Like we rented scooters and went up and saw all these like castles and stuff.
And a monastery. No,
a convent made of cork.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, they're taking these caves and literally lined the inside with cork to make it as insulation. And they brought all these nuns there, and I think they were trying to protect them from.
Yeah, it was a convent.
From smashing their heads against the wall?
Yeah.
Why is it? Oh, the cork was just from the
for
cold.
the insulation inside the
You're
the
living
caves,
in a cave like a bear would live. I'm
yeah.
talking like it's just like these little like places under
4
the rock.
foot high cells. I mean, it looked.
Yeah, they'd carved little
Didn't look very
bedrooms
fun.
out, and they had a toilet like bathroom area, and
It was nuts.
Kind of cool, though.
Yeah. It was way
very
cool.
And
Way
to
cool.
find it, I mean, it was, if you didn't know where this place was,
We got lost in the woods.
Well, it was all foggy up there and cold too. It like got really chilly.
The moped dude gave us jackets to wear because we're stupid sailboaters and we're in t-shirts and shorts.
Yeah.
He's like, you need these to go up there. We're like, really? And you get up there, it's freezing cold.
Good job. Thanks, moped guy.
Yeah.
It was like it was like some sort of a scavenger hunt. Like he gives you this little map of the places you've got to go.
Yeah, you guys are serious pirates now.
It was crazy.
It was a riot.
Oh, cool.
Totally
I
cool
have
place.
to go. I have to see
You have
this.
to try that.
There's so many cool things along
It's
that
worth
coast.
going to.
Any other cool places I need to go?
I would say there's 4 or 5 in Portugal alone. What's the town at the bottom? Lagos. It's up this river mouth. It's only 3 meters deep at the entrance, so you have to time the roll so you don't hit the bottom on your way in. And then you go up this river. It's got a little bridge over it, and you go into the marina. And then the town is this cute little, I'll call it medieval town.
Cool.
Just adorable. It's got a fort out on the water, and just so cool. And the beach there is pretty nice.
So think about going to Europe.
Oh, and it's got the biggest electronic marine store I've ever seen in my whole life.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God,
it's
is it amazing.
a channel really the size of a Home Depot, honestly, and it's got everything. It's crazy. You know, the thing about Europe is that the sailing in the Med, this is outside the Med. We're talking about the Atlantic here. Portugal doesn't have a Mediterranean coastline. Spain does. Spain's half in the Atlantic coast and then half on the other side of the Rock of Gibraltar. Once you come into through the Strait of Gibraltar, you're into the Mediterranean Sea, and from there, I mean, starting with the Rock of Gibraltar, and also Ceuta, Spanish Ceuta, across on the African side, it's the history is just absolutely unbelievable. Like in Ceuta, they've got a marina over there, and it's Catholic because the Spanish are Catholic. The monarchy was Catholic when they built all of this stuff, and they've got just concertina wire to keep the Moroccans out because the Moroccans hate the idea of having like all these churches and everything there. But it was after the British ended up with the Rock of Gibraltar, the next most important way to control that mouth, it's only about 16 miles wide, was to take the African side, which is what the Spanish did. And there's a huge castle there. With a moat that goes through it that you can take your dinghy through.
What? I want to take my dinghy through a moat.
Just the human labor to build this must have just been insane. Mm-hmm. From there on in, the sailing in the Med is
cool.
The sailing in the Med is not great. The winds are fluky, and a lot of times there's no wind. They always say the wind in the Med is either too much, too little, or in the wrong direction, and that seems to be about right. Mm-hmm. So you do a lot of motoring when you're there, but boy, the history is unbelievable.
Yeah. I think my favorite place in Spain was Cartagena. So not Cartagena, Colombia, but Cartagena, Spain, which was the main fleet base for the Spanish Armada. And it's an old Roman town as well. And the ruins there are just amazing. The yacht basin it's like a volcanic, arms coming around.
Cool.
It's probably about 5 miles across in the middle, and the fingers come down to like only a half mile across at the entrance. So it's this really well protected harbor, and then the ruins there from the Roman forums and
I gotta see
temples
this. That sounds
and they're
amazing.
Really well preserved. They've dug them up. They found a theater in the middle of town that had been buried under trash for 1,000 years, and so they've, so now you can walk into this really beautifully preserved theater. They've got the old Roman baths. I mean, it's really cool. And again, it's got the polished marble streets, so it's
marble streets.
Sweet!
Yeah, that's a little bit opulent. I've never even heard of this.
Have to be careful walking in the rain because you'll fall down.
Yeah,
very slippery.
It's very slippery.
Yeah, any Roman town worth its salt would have started off with a large amphitheater, and so they chose the town site usually with a hillside that they could build a amphitheater into, and so everywhere you go from one town to the next, there's always the Roman amphitheater, and unfortunately they've all almost to the one they've been destroyed over the centuries. Vandals and various people, not vandals like spray painting people on the street, but the actual predecessors of the root of that
German
of that
Vandals.
term. Yeah, they came and or the Ottoman Turks came through and just destroyed, like took sledgehammers to stuff and just spent probably more energy destroying it than it took to build.
And then the locals took a lot of the stone away and made houses out of it. So they repurposed it. It was the first
good.
Recycling.
Be cool to have a marble house.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there was one there for in the beginning. You could have just moved into.
Yeah.
But then it got destroyed. But so that was. We spent 2 years, 3 years in the.
Almost 3 years in the Med.
3 years in the Med.
We loved. We could just go on and on. Greece actually was our favorite.
Okay, so you wait, whoa,
place.
because this is something that my father has been talking about. He wants to see Athens, and he wants to do it on a boat. I convinced him to do it on a boat. So, what should our vacation be that we take my dad?
Oh,
so your boat's not going to be there.
No. We're going to rent a boat, like a cat or something.
So there's two sides to Greece. There's the Ionian and the Aegean, and then Athens is kind of right in the middle. It's on land, of course. We sailed from the Ionian through the channel. Hang on.
Am I mistaken? I thought that the. Okay, go ahead. Yes, you're right. No. I'm thinking about the Peloponnese and the peninsula down at the bottom, and where. Yes, she's correct. And
you're speaking Japanese to me. Whatever you say, I'll believe. So it doesn't matter.
So in Greece, the parts of Greece we loved all of Greece. We'll come back to Athens, but on the there's two really very different sailing environments. The Ionian side, which is over by Italy, is like vacation sailing. It is all these cute little islands, adorable harbors, very low cost. Low cost from an anchoring, low cost from tying up.
From food.
The food's great, and it's
free. Alcohol's cheap.
It's like just a really cost-effective place to go. And the islands, each island's a little bit different, so it's very charming to go from island to island. Biggest downsides,
all the charter boats. So you can bareboat there. You can
the downside is it's the charter boat heaven for Greece. So there's a lot of charter boats. Which is good if you're chartering because you'll be.
But a shit show if you know what you're doing.
It can be a shit show. You have to know what time of day to get to certain places to get the last spot available. The winds tend to not pick up until about noon, and then they die off about 4 or 5 o'clock. So again, that makes everybody. If you're going to sail, everybody's sailing at the same time, trying to get to the same place, or you're motoring in the morning to get to somewhere. But the weather tends to be just beautiful blue skies, perfect vacation. You go to the Aegean, and you get this thing called the Meltemi, and the Meltemi is a high pressure wind system, beautiful blue skies, 20, 30, 40 knot winds. And it goes for days. It'll go for like 10 days in a row.
Jesus.
And it's a high pressure off of Greece and a low pressure off of Turkey, and they like suck each other together down the middle. So over by Athens, it's not so bad. But the farther in you go, the closer you get to Turkey, the stronger and stronger the winds get until you get to somewhere like Mykonos, where that's sort of the epicenter of the Meltemi. And again, you've got these amazing islands. It's really awesome, but it's very hard sailing because the winds can be exceedingly challenging. You may get stuck on an island for days because it's too dangerous to go sailing.
They only do pro
pro skippers on the
charters
in the
there.
Aegean for the
And
most part.
with the disclaimer that if the Meltemi's blowing, you're not gonna go sailing. And we've watched in Mykonos where people came on board the boat, sat on the boat the entire week, and left at the end of the week.
Oh no!
Never having left the marina, and happily so, because they could see what was going on.
Yeah. The water's white with white caps.
For the people watching who don't know, in the weather system world, when the high pressure systems they spin clockwise, and low pressure systems spin counterclockwise. So what happens is a low pressure system develops over Turkey, spinning counterclockwise, and then a high pressure system in Greece, like in the north of Greece, and it creates a wheel that's spit like a baseball pitching machine. That sucks the air and just shoves it right down the gap between Turkey and through the Aegean Sea between Turkey and Greece. And once it fills in, like Wendy said, I mean, it is literally blowing between, say, 27 on the low side to like 40 on the high, and it never stops, 24 hours a day. And it keeps everything cool. If you're in Mykonos or Santorini, it's great.
It's great when you're on land.
When you're on land, it's got this beautiful breeze coming through all the time. But boy, when you're out on the water, it's no go. You can't even get out of the ports. The waves are coming in. Boats get damaged. For the average person wanting to do a vacation, I mean, you got to start with the Ionian. It's perfect. It's like going to Vail and skiing like intermediate trails all day long.
Yeah.
Everything's great. That's the place to be. But getting back to Athens. In Greece, there's Athens, and then there's the rest of Greece. They're two totally different places. The Athens is obviously the political capital of Greece, and it's got crime and graffiti and all of this other stuff. You get outside of that, and Greece is just the most wonderful place. It's just, it's just there's
safe.
There's no crime.
Yeah.
The people are wonderful.
It's really happy people.
Oh, so you guys would actually not recommend not spending a lot of time.
I would not spend a lot of time in Athens.
Yeah, if you want to go see the Parthenon or something.
I have to see the Parthenon, man.
Yeah, that's worthwhile doing.
And there are great marinas
and actually, there's
in
a marina.
Athens.
I wouldn't put the boat in Athens. There's a place to the left and a little bit south. I forget the name, Zeos or something like that. It's a much better place for boats, and it's a beautiful town as well. It's just outside of and then you can take a taxi into Athens.
Cool. Okay.
From there.
So that's like a day trip.
Yeah, Athens,
going to Athens for a day.
Athens hosted the Summer Olympics like back in the 70s or something, and they built up this whole area around the Athens Marina, and it's in the middle. There's a clover leaf of a highway like right there, and you're totally set apart from the rest of the town. You can't walk anywhere. There's no place to go to eat. It's terrible. It's a super yacht parking lot.
I get it.
That's about all it is. Like power boats park there.
Okay.
But that's what I would do.
Okay. I'll tell my dad. Thank
Greece
you.
Is good
Thanks
for
the info.
Athens is good for about 3 days, but after that you'll be done with it.
Okay.
But I would definitely do the Ionian side and
go. Done.
We'll give you I can give you 14 different itineraries.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's what I need. Thank you so much.
Yeah, the way you connect between the two is with the Corinth Canal, which is like the most expensive.
It's so cool though.
Place. What was
it's
it like?
3 miles long, and it costs $200 to go through it.
200 euros.
200 euros. Yeah.
Wow.
With our boat.
Is it a lock?
It's a channel that's
it's cut through the sandstone. They take ships through it, and the ships just like rub against the side of the thing.
Really?
Yeah.
That's how they dredge?
I guess.
They've got a
doesn't damage the steel.
They've got a floating bridge that drops down on one end, and then on the other end, I think they have one as well.
Possibly.
And so
it drops under the boats.
Under the boats.
Oh, that's cool. I want to see that. Yeah, real wild. I mean, like, what kind of engineer was like, let's put the moving thing in the water.
The water, in the salty water.
The salt water.
Well, that's one of the things with the Panama Canal. Like the Pacific is like a foot or two higher or lower than the Atlantic, and it would all flow in one direction, like tidal wave style. And that's the way. That's the thing with the dam. Is to make sure that if there's a storm on one side, that it doesn't just like wipe everything out along the canal. But if you don't do the canal, you have to go down all the way around the Peloponnese and back up the other side. It's probably 400 miles of sailing to get to cut that little corner.
I bet there's some people that do that just for the.
Oh, absolutely.
We did it on the way out.
We knew several people that
just to do it. They're like, $200. I don't want to spend that money.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly. 5 days of my life is not worth $200.
Okay, so we're back on the story. You're in Greece now. Where else did you go?
From Greece, we went to Turkey, And Turkey was amazing.
I've heard that sailing in Turkey is amazing.
The Turkish coast along what I'll call the oh shoot, no, I went and lost the name I was
Gold
going to...
Coast.
Yeah, the Gold Coast of Turkey.
What they call the Gold Coast.
From Bodrum down to Göcek is some of the...
And even further.
Again, yeah, you can go even further, but
I just have to
that's all
stop
we
you and
did.
say that this is so cool that you guys know all these names of places. It sounds...
And we didn't know anything when we went there, and,
Yeah.
and you're better off not to know anything, because what you do is you talk to other cruisers and they tell you where to go.
Yeah.
You
But
literally
you also
play
buy-
it like by your day to day of where you're going to go.
Very cool.
You also buy things like pilot books. We've got a whole pile of them over here, and you research ahead of time, and then you get your Navionics iPad out with your charts, and you sit down next to the guy next to you on the dock, and you say, "Where have you been?" And he points. He says, "Good, bad, good, bad," and you're like, put little dots on there, and then you go look in the book. Oh, that looks like we could go there, and then you cross your fingers and hope that it's actually going to work, and then all of a sudden you're the expert and you tell everybody else about it.
Yeah. It
Once
sounds really
you've been and
cool.
seen it,
Yeah.
You know, the funniest part about this whole thing was going to Turkey. We were really reluctant to do it in the beginning because, you know, Trump was president at the time, and him and Erdogan were kind of butting heads about stuff, and we weren't real sure, as a Muslim country, weren't sure how they'd feel about Americans. We actually even bought a Canadian flag.
Oh,
We
no
were gonna
way.
Just
fly
thinking.
like a nice
I know a
big
few
embroidered
backpackers that do that. They put a
Canadian
Canadian
flag.
flag on their backpack.
Yeah, well, turns out we get there and every freaking boat has a U.S. flag on it, and it turns out that they register their boats in Delaware. And the Turks own boats, whereas the Greeks don't. The Greeks hardly
don't
own
own
any
boats,
boats. So
yeah.
the Greeks are mad for fishing, and they own these little dories that they go out and fish with, but they don't own
don't sail.
sailing boats. But the Turks do. And they're all registered in Wilmington, Delaware. And so it's got this little courtesy-style flag, American flag on the back. Now, ours is bigger, and they recognize right away that means that we're actually Americans, because the Turks are very patriotic, and they fly the big Turkish flag. I'm talking like a 5-foot flag on our boat is the largest flag that will fit. There are people that have like a 10-foot Turkish flag on a boat our size.
Yeah.
Like they've got like a 20-foot aerial
Yeah,
with like
just
this
for the
monster
flag.
flag on it. You
I
know?
love it.
And so in the day trips that go out, like
They all have huge flags.
monster flags, and when they come back in, they hand a flag to every person who's a guest on the boat. They're all like waving the
That's
flags.
awesome.
as they
Wow,
come-
we
as
should
they
do
come to the
that,
port.
man.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
No shit.
I kind of wish we would do that a little bit more.
I really want a long pole now for the back of this boat.
Yeah, we go through flags on our boat.
Oh.
It's kind of a big thing for us to fly like a proper American flag, and so we have like embroidered flags, like really good, like for Valley Forge type.
Yep.
Made
Yep.
of
Those aren't cheap.
of Solar Max. They're not cheap, I buy them at like 4 and 5 at a time.
Yeah.
Because they just get destroyed out there.
Yeah, you know that's a really good gift for people when you meet them, especially if you go to any like remote places or bars or something like that. One place that you like, that's a super good gift. People love it,
Really?
especially if they're
Yeah.
all kinds of fucked up.
Yeah.
because
we do that. We do that
Yeah.
too. We give away the ones that are
Yeah.
damaged.
Dead ones,
Yeah,
yeah.
And people like frame them.
Super big gift.
Yeah.
Super good gift.
We gave our crew, after we came down we gave them 2 of our older flags, and just said, these have both been flown on Atlantic crossings, so they've been across the Atlantic, and so there's a little something there.
Yeah, beautiful. You guys are in Turkey now. Where did you go from there?
So then we sailed pretty much, well, not straight back, but we sailed from there to Malta, and then from Malta just touching on a couple of the Italian islands back on our way to Gibraltar.
Okay.
Malta was cool, but we just didn't spend very much time there. I think it was 4 days.
You're probably trying to get away, right?
Yeah,
Because
we were
I've
getting-
seen when the weather turns bad there, it's
Yeah.
like purple. Like
Yeah.
the entire Med is purple.
Purple.
Oh, it goes to
And we were-
gray.
yeah, we
After
were
it goes
going-
through purple, it goes into like a grayish black. That's like showing like 60 knots of wind. It's just like
it
absolutely
goes to
insane.
11.
Yeah, it goes to 11. Exactly.
Exactly. Well,
But we were heading for the Ark, so we had to get.
Oh,
we had to
cool.
get
Oh, you
all
guys
the way
did the
back.
arc across
Yeah,
the Atlantic.
yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
neat.
we had a rough schedule. We still ended up down in the Canary Islands probably a
month
early.
But that was actually great.
yeah.
It was really cool to
But
be there.
we sailed we were stuck in Mykonos for probably a week to a week and a half with a Meltemi. Couldn't leave. And finally when we did, we went straight off. We did 3/4 of the Aegean Sea in an afternoon. We literally left. We got our fuel at the fuel dock at maybe 8 o'clock in the morning, and we left and sailed all the way down to the bottom of the Peloponnese. And we were just surfing down waves.
Cool.
Our speed over ground, which includes like, being pushed by waves and everything. So the GPS speed, we were doing like 10 to 12, sometimes even 13 knots.
Sweet.
It was unbelievable.
And our whole speed on this boat, like we've hit 9 a couple of times at boat speed, but you just can't make this boat go it physically won't go any faster than that.
I think theoretical hull speed on boats is 1.34 times the square root of the waterline length.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Something. It's right around
there's
there.
Our boats, or the 485 is faster than the calculated hull speed. And that's a known thing, which is kind of cool, because our calculated hull speed's like 8, and we
cool.
sail above 8 all the time.
Yeah.
It's not hard to do.
Even upwind.
Yeah.
That's badass.
Yeah. And so anyway, but we went to Malta. Malta was our first. It was our second stop, I think, because we went to Sardinia first, or was that?
No,
afterward?
Sardinia was after.
So Malta is one of the coolest places ever. I mean, Malta. The history of Malta is just incredible. The Knights Templar retreated there after they lost the Battle of Jerusalem, and with the Turks and the Muslims like hot on their heels, and built a huge castle and defended it. And during World War II, they claim it was like the most bombed place of all in Europe, and I don't know if that's true or not, but
But it's like a walled city almost, because it's up on this cliff as you enter in from the water, and it is so impressive.
Cool. I want to see it.
It is a very defensible place. Like if you have the high ground there, which is everywhere, it's on land, you own everything.
Yeah, from the marina, you have to get a dude that rows the boat over as a ferry boat, and they row forward rather than reverse. It's kind of funky.
Why?
I don't know why. It's
a
just
little water
thing they
taxi
do.
service.
Little water taxi.
It's like going to Venice. It's very similar. It's like these painted wooden
gondola things.
Gondolas,
cool.
and the guy uses
Exactly.
pretty much. He got a steering oar and
Cool.
and he's rowing.
Oh, what do they call that? Sculling. A sculling.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, for sure.
and then you land at the bottom of the cliff, and I think there's a staircase that goes up, but they make you take this elevator, and it's literally, I don't know,
It's gotta
10,
be 30
15
stories up.
stories at least.
Whoa.
So it's a pretty significant cliff.
At least they have an elevator. Imagine stairs.
Yeah.
People would be like, yeah, I'm going to die.
I'm gonna make it. I will.
Malta's a big island, and it's got a lot of little inlets and everything around.
Yeah.
And that whole area of Valletta, the main city, is actually several cities
It's huge,
connected. And the history is unbelievable. Just to sit in a restaurant there in the main town of Valletta, you feel like you could be centuries back.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's got that
Sweet.
level of history. And if it wasn't for the people carrying cameras and phones and stuff
Yeah.
and dressed the way they are, you wouldn't ever know.
It's like the perfect setting for those nerds at the medieval fair.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
We
To a
come up to
Shakespeare
the-
festival.
Or like a night festival where
Well, we
people
come
are
up-
dueling in the
We
street.
come up the elevator and walking through this section, and it's like the old fort, and they've got a plaza where they've got a orchestra practicing, and they're playing, classical
beautiful.
music, and they're going to have a concert
Beautiful.
later that night, and they're all getting ready for the concert, and you're just like, free music, just to walk by.
Beautiful.
It's really cool.
Everywhere you go, you just feel like you want to stay, and that's the big problem with Europe is that as Americans, because of Schengen, you get 90 days out of a rolling 180 days to be there, unless you want to go and get some
visa.
sort of a visa extension or something, and that's not
But the
easy
visa
to
only
do.
works in one country, so
Oh, you can't get a UN visa?
no, they can't. They won't let you stay for
Shit.
6 months nonstop, and it's annoying as heck. And so there are ways to get around that, but it's painful. You've got to go to.
You break the rules. I mean, that's
Yeah.
one way to do it.
Well,
but
we never break the rules.
we're rule
but-
followers.
We never break the rules. But Turkey is outside of Schengen, and then Greece has its own little funky thing called the transit log, and then the rest of Europe's mostly in Schengen, but Croatia's out.
But Montenegro.
and-
Can you
Albania.
time it where you
Yeah, and
spend 90
Gibraltar's
days
out.
in the Schengen and then go to Turkey
Yeah.
for like
And then you can go to
6 months or whatever?
Exactly.
You can see Sarande directly across
Albania,
in Albania, directly across from
Corfu.
the island of Corfu in northern Greece. And you can go over there, but the problem is there's nothing to do there. It's like it's such a repressed communist society that they never developed anything, and so there's no yacht infrastructure. And there's, unfortunately for Albania, their whole area, their entire coastline is totally not set up. There's no shelter at all. There's a few places, but they're exposed, and of course the country's just not it's poverty stricken, and they don't have anything there. Montenegro and is better, and then Croatia. But Croatia is just known for being so difficult to deal with. The officials are so corrupt.
Oh man, that's too bad. I heard that Croatia was like some of the best sailing ever.
It is some of the best sailing.
So if you're in Croatia on a charter boat, they treat you like gold.
Yeah.
In Croatia on your own boat, they treat you like dirt.
Oh, really?
They nickel and dime you. They try to fine you. They try to get you in trouble. You broke the rules for this. Exactly.
There's no getting around it because it's whatever they say it is. We just heard numerous stories about that.
Some dude will come out and say it's 30 euros to anchor here, and 5 minutes later, after he's gone, another dude will come out and say the same thing.
Says, well, I'm the real guy.
Yeah, you gave money to the wrong guy. I'm the guy.
I love it.
Yeah.
So we never went. Actually, we got all the way up to the border, and we called, and we'd had several horror stories about other personal yachts going in. And after we talked to the customs lady, and she told us it would be about 400 euros to enter, and then about 100 euros a week just for being there, and that doesn't include anything.
And she's pitching it like this is all affordable.
This is all good.
This is all like it's only going to be like $100 euros a week, and we're like 100 euros a week. Been in Greece for like the last 3 years. Haven't paid $100.
Yeah, it's 50 euros to enter Greece. That's it.
Yeah.
There's no monthly fee. So
there is a cruising tax. They just enacted
they did
recently, but
anyway,
but it's affordable.
We won't get into that. Yeah.
We just basically
the thing about it is what you guys need to understand is like everybody's spending a lot of money there. Like we go out to dinner all the time.
Exactly.
We have to buy boat stuff. For 3 years I can imagine you spent probably 30 or 40 grand.
It was angering almost to hear about these things, because you know that, let's assume for argument that you go up there and you get fined 1,500 euros. Well, okay, so that money went straight to the official and his people in his office because they stole it. You know that. It wasn't real. You weren't really breaking the rule. It was a rule they made up. That you came into the port without making a right angle off of the territorial.
No way, really?
That's exactly what it was.
This is exactly what we had. Two people.
You came in at an angle.
Two people that this happened to.
You actually sailed through our waters before you got here.
Yeah.
And so the.
Well, that's
now that's 1,500 euros that's not available to be spent in restaurants and everything else.
Yeah.
And so you end up going and buying the cheapest stuff you can and eating on the boat, and it means that the merchants and the local people got totally hosed. And so we just chose not to be a part of it, and not to reinforce that behavior, especially not when other countries are really doing it right. And I'm talking like Greece really does it right. You get out there, those people get the shirt off their back to you. If you need to ride somewhere in your car, the guy waiting on you in the restaurant will probably do it if you ask him. Probably leave the restaurant, get in his car and drive you to where you need to be, wait for you and drive you back.
Oh, that's so awesome.
That's the way
what a good
people
culture.
Are. And meanwhile, I'm like, who's holding down the restaurant? He's like, oh, my son will do it, It'll be fine.
You know what other cultures like that? The Japanese. If you guys have never been to Japan.
Yeah, I've spent quite a bit of time in Japan.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful culture.
Yeah.
The Scots are that way too. The Scots can be kind of prickly if they take a set against you, they'll hate you forever. But if you treat them well and they and kind of come humbly and ask for something, they will immediately take you under their wing. And
if you can understand them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can understand.
Is get me fucking car or we can take it down here.
You got the rolling tongue. That's exactly right.
Oh, laddie.
That's fun. Okay, so take me back to Gibraltar when you're done with the med, and you decide, okay, we're done. What was the decision? What was the catalyst there?
We had just I wanted to do the ARC, and it was either 2019 or 2020 to do the ARC, and he wanted to stay another year, and I just was like, no,
but I didn't have my
it.
heels set in on it or anything. I was I thought I was enjoying the med, but it was getting increasingly difficult to do the Schengen thing.
Boy, were we fortunate, because that's when COVID hit. So if we had done another year in the Med,
you'd have
we
been
would have been stuck there.
Yeah, I saw horror stories of people.
So we
I
were
felt so bad.
Hugely fortunate to be in the Caribbean by then. But anyway, we decided to do the Ark. We went back to Gibraltar. We did some work on the boat like we always do. Kevin did his Yachtmaster test there, so that was
RYA?
His RYA.
Oh, you have an RYA license.
Yeah. We both
you
do.
both
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, we're
So
both
Kevin did his
Congratulations.
Yachtmaster
Yacht-
offshore in Gibraltar.
Yachtmaster offshore is like a true captain's license.
Kudos to you. Yeah, that's way better than mine. I mean, anybody can get a U.S. Coast Guard license. We were talking about that earlier.
Well, it's just they
So I
have
did mine in Antigua.
they have a higher level of
warmer.
higher standard because
Yeah.
they honestly live in a more dangerous area.
Yep.
That's what it is. Is that if you don't understand tide tables and
Yeah.
things like that intimately,
Yeah.
you're going to get yourself in trouble very quickly around England and France and the UK. We love Gibraltar. We ended up back
Great
in,
drinking town. Amazing drinking town.
Oh, the people. I mean, I get in trouble anytime I make generalizations about alcohol consumption. If you know, the people in Gibraltar will sit there and every Saturday is a big sandwich board outside the restaurants that says when all the FIFA and Premier League, hockey, soccer, football games are going to be throughout the day. And I mean, the guys show up at 8 o'clock in the morning and drink all the way through until all the games are
10
over.
games.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just outrageous there. But there again, it's an incredible amount of history. And you can get almost anything done. It's an industrial kind of town, and a lot of cruisers say it's too industrial for them. It's not. There's not beaches and all this sort of stuff. Actually, in La Linea, in the Spanish side, right across the way, there's a nice beach.
And on the back of the island, there's a nice beach.
Yeah.
So you got to walk or
places to go.
Travel a little bit. But the fortress, the walls of Gibraltar are just amazing to walk around that town and see just the different keys, where all the different boats were over the years, to go up on the rock.
The thing with Gibraltar is that it's right there on the mouth of the Atlantic, and so it's not going to be as warm as it is inside the Med. Once you get into there, you're into the Atlantic Ocean. And from there, we wintered the first year in Gibraltar for 3 months, and then we stayed in Gibraltar probably another 2 months on the way out. It took a while to get this Yachtmaster thing taken care of. I did a full week, I think it was 9 days actually, of on-water training, sailing into marinas, literally sailing our boat into a marina and onto a dock.
Wow.
With the engine on, just in case things got hairy, but still knuckle biting or fingernail biting.
I've never done that. That's scary. I mean, I've done that with my Islander 28, but this thing is 22 tons of boat going. Like, when are you supposed to drop the main?
Yeah.
Every single time you're like leaving, the guy's like, up. You like shove the thing in neutral and go up. You just lost your engine,
Oh my God.
And you'd have to like quick run out the main or the Genoa or something, and you learn pretty quickly that if you keep your wits about you, that you've got time.
Yeah, everything happens slowly on a boat.
Everything
People don't
happens
realize
mostly
that.
slowly.
Exactly.
It's worth practicing. We practice going on and off of anchor, under sail, going to a mooring ball under sail, like man overboard
on
constantly.
This boat.
Yeah, on this boat.
Wow, you can pick up a mooring ball under sail.
Yeah.
That's impressive, guys.
Well, the first 5 times didn't work, and then finally got it. They don't care how many times you take to do it. They care that you don't. Actually, the Yachtmaster thing is interesting because they don't tell you very much about how the test is set up. But what it really comes down to is they're looking to see if you are if you're mentally okay to be a captain of a large boat. And that means never losing your temper, never losing your shit with people,
Having
constantly
plans.
being good about telling other people, not trying to do everything yourself. They don't want to see you cranking the winches. They want you've got crew. You delegate. Very, very good. Yachtmaster is the gold standard of every super yacht captain's going to be Yachtmaster offshore. Yachtmaster Ocean includes celestial navigation, but you have to have the Yachtmaster offshore first. Then you get that as an add-on.
So I have a question. When you're sailing the Oyster 485 up to a mooring ball, do you pass the mooring ball and come back on it, or you just come right up to it? Can you explain?
Come in at an angle and slow yourself down as much as you can, and then J hook up into it.
Leave the ball on the windward side.
No, you'll come straight on up into it, and whatever side you pass on, you hope that your
it doesn't
person on
matter.
the bow grabs it.
Yeah.
And-
So the boat may run it over.
Yeah, I
and
would.
that
I
doesn't
would
matter.
bias towards leaving it on the leeward side
Yeah.
because then if you screw up, you're still with it.
Yeah.
But if you leave it on the windward side, it's just getting farther and farther
Okay,
away.
so you don't mind it going under your hull,
No, not at.
scraping your paint up a
Yeah,
little bit.
well,
Well, it's usually
hopefully
just
not. Hopefully you're doing it just right.
a rubber ball. Yeah, that's why it takes some practice to do it because this boat has a lot of inertia, and once it gets going, it doesn't want to slow down. And you notice that even under power, that you can't just throw it in reverse and stop the thing the way you can with charter boats.
Exactly.
It really doesn't want to slow down in a reverse direction, and so you get used to it like any other boat. It's practice. They want to see that you know how to do it. They want to see that you know how to hove to.
But you can't do this on like a Catalina 27.
Wouldn't
it be a lot easier?
Most people do it on school boats.
I did my.
I would say
I
you-
did
you
my
should-
test on a school boat.
You should do it on a school boat.
Yeah.
For a
But they
couple of
didn't have a
reasons.
school boat for him to do it on because he was doing it as a
Oh no,
one-off.
she asked me if I wanted to do it on our own boat. I thought it would be less expensive,
Thought
and
it'd
I
be
would.
easier?
And I knew the boat well. Right? I knew how to drive the boat, so I thought it would be the right choice. In retrospect, I think most
didn't
people
realize that.
who are watching this video or watching this episode should know that. In my recommendation would be do the school boat, and here's why: because you'll be one of 6 other people. And so you won't be the center of attention all the time from. It's not so bad for your instructor, but for your examiner, you don't want to be the center of attention the entire time. If an examination has 6 or 8 people on board the boat, you're gonna only have to be better than a couple of those people because a pass rate for Yachtmaster Offshore is something like 50 to 60%.
Oh, wow. That's not a lot.
Most people fail, and you can come back and take it again, but it's expensive. It's like.
Yeah.
I mean, well, you wouldn't have to take a retest is going to be less than doing it from scratch, but the examiner may also write on his notes that this person's not a candidate, just that they'll never be good enough. And if that happens, you're just blacklisted. You'll never get you'll never get a ticket.
Don't piss off the examiner.
Don't make bad choices.
Well, the things that will get you blacklisted are, unfortunately, I would say, female candidates, if they lose if they get upset and start crying or something like this, that's it. They'll never get it. And so for male candidates, if they yell and scream, if they get frustrated and pissed off, or if they're just bad at what they do.
Well, I won't use any names because I don't want to get anyone mad at me in the world. But one of the candidates in my class that failed, I believe he failed because he made 2 very poor choices about cutting across out of a channel through a shallow area after being told to go to the end of the channel and go out to the safe water mark. He decided to cut the channel and took us through an area that was that looked like it might be deep enough, but we all knew that there were rocks in that area, and the instructor, this was not under the examiner, but the instructor took him aside and said, "You ever do that with a boat again, you might as well just go home because this is this is bad judgment." So.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, I'm putting myself in his shoes, and he's nervous, and he doesn't know what to do, and he's trying to be like, okay, I know what I'm doing. Man, it's so much more of a chill sport than people realize. Like all you have to do is just be like, all right, man, whatever. You want me to go to the end? Sure, dude.
Yeah.
Maybe more people should smoke pot. I don't smoke pot. I honestly don't.
But that mindset,
mentality, like, hey man, cool, right on. We'll just go to the end. That should be adopted
If an
more.
instructor or examiner tells you to jump 15 times and then spin 2 times, you do that. You know, I mean, it
whatever.
Does,
Well, my guy,
it's
he
total
kept telling
unforced
me.
You want me to do 2 360s and then go to the marina? Sure, man, whatever.
Well, he kept telling me to keep my mouth shut because I had taken the theory class just before, and so he would ask a question and I would start to answer it, and he'd be like,
Oh no.
so I had to.
You were giving away
really had
all
to
of
button
the
up. Yeah. He was like,
all the gold.
only answer when I ask you.
Actually, that's good.
Yeah. But he had to yell at me because I'm like,
Aw.
oh, I was trying to help. Don't help.
you really have to take. So the Yachtmaster Offshore is it starts with what's called coastal skipper.
Uh-huh.
Coastal skipper training is the theory for yacht master, which is a practical exam. And if you don't take the...
Sorry, let me rephrase that. Day skipper is the basic, and then the yacht master coastal is the theory.
Well, they're calling it yacht master coastal now, but they... Whatever,
Anyway.
It's not material to the whole thing. The people don't understand that yacht master itself is really a practical exam, that the theory for it is actually something else. And if you don't have, I mean, you could have a day skipper. It's most of what is in coastal skipper, or what when he calls yacht master coastal now, which I think they're calling it. But if you don't take that in very short period of time before you actually take your Yachtmaster
Practical.
Offshore Practical, you will most likely fail.
Ah.
You know, that stuff has to be really, really in your mind. You have to be quick with answers about weather systems, about tidal issues, about tidal
So this isn't something that somebody
primary
that...
and
Yeah, so
secondary
like
ports.
ours-
Like if I was sailing
Mine-
around for 10 years and I went to take that practical and didn't take any coursework
Any
at all.
coursework.
Fail.
For example,
Guaranteed.
there's a written test as part of the practical. So overnight we had to do a passage plan, and he gives you like a place in France and a place in England, and you've got to navigate across the English Channel and get
Oh,
around.
wow, what a cool test.
And get
And
around
it's chosen
all
so
sorts
that
of
if you show up at the wrong
obstacles.
time, you can't get into the
can't
port
get into the port.
because it's low water and there's
and
no-
if you steer one way, you know, you've got to know that the tidal streams do this back and forth. Otherwise, you're going to end up over there. And so
This sounds difficult.
it's you know,
It's
you really
designed
have
to
to
be
know
a
the theory
difficult
to
test.
make sure that you can do this passage plan.
Cool.
And again, if you're asking the right questions, if you come to them and say, I was confused by this or that, because they will immediately say, they'll just go into instructor mode and say, well, here's the trick. It's this and that. It's like, this is a primary port. This is a secondary port. So
Try
you-
that, yeah.
So, you know, that's the hint, you know, and they want you to pass. They don't want to,
No, they're not
kick you to
about
the curb.
trying to make you look like an
And
idiot.
they want to
want
make
you
sure
to,
that you care, that you're going to be that person. If you were a pilot, you would have to do the same type of thing. You would want
Absolutely.
to calculate your crosswinds and things like that.
Yeah, but if you're a pilot, you can't just heave to and wait for
Yeah,
the
exactly.
overnight until the tides
Yeah,
are better.
exactly.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, if I don't arrive where I'm supposed to be,
Yeah.
like by the hour, I mean, who cares really? I can just heave to and go to sleep and then
Yeah.
wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
The funny part was the area the last 2 hours of the trip in, the boat would have been on its side because the water was too shallow. If you arrived too early, you were going to be sitting on a mud flat.
You know
So,
what? On
yeah.
our boat, what's
Yeah.
really the problem with that? Oh, fun. All right.
So anyway,
Cool. Okay.
but
Well,
it was
that sounds like an awesome experience. It sounds like your private pilot's
Yeah.
license.
And I'm gonna put a plug in for was it On Deck was the school that I took
In
my
Antigua?
my training at in
Cool.
Antigua, and those guys were amazing.
Cool.
Just the nicest people. You know, not the fanciest of locations, but really spot on. My instructor Peter was just astonishing. He was so good.
Oh, good.
So
Well, my instructor in Gibraltar, Gavin Shaw, was fantastic, but I will not put in a plug for the sailing school, which I'm not even going to bring up the name because the woman who owns it, and that should be a hint. Totally disorganized and just did not have it together at all, and I almost
a
didn't
shame.
get a chance to test because she hadn't set up a test. She figured that she could get somebody to do the examination easily and never really followed through with it. And when I got there, it turned out there were no examiners available. They were all, for various reasons,
Oh no.
not available. And
had already taken his money.
I
and-
ended up having to pay extra to drive somebody down from the north of Spain who turned out to be a fantastic examiner. And Kristen, his name was, and he was very, very good. The youngest RYA examiner that's ever been.
No way.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And he was so cool.
Super
Yeah.
cool guy.
Yeah.
Obviously brilliant. And Yeah, I mean the tools are there to you can beat your head against the wall like James is advocating, or you can do it the easy way. If you do a little bit of
I'm not advocating that.
I know, but like when you
Sometimes it's elegant to just be able to sail.
Yeah,
right?
you leave it 1 hour and you get there with no drama. You leave an hour later and you find out that you don't fit under the bridge, and they pick these locations
Exactly.
for exactly those reasons, so that you have you if you're wrong, you're going to find that you don't it's either the channel is too shallow or the tide is against you and you just can't get there under sail. And all of this stuff, because if you have a boat that's your sailing angle, that you're going to be able to make, say, 5 knots, and you got a 4-knot current, it's going to take you it's going to take you forever. But that current might change. That might change. 4 hours later, it might reverse and go the other direction, and all of a sudden you're going 9 knots, and then things are good. So. It was very...
No, I don't think 9 knots is good going down a river. That is dangerous as shit. How do you reverse direction, bro?
Oh my God, when we went through the Straits of Messina, we were doing 10 knots in the current while motoring at maybe 2 knots.
Oh my God.
And it was...
With whirlpools.
The boat went
ferry
around
traffic
90 degrees. Oh my God, it was crazy.
Strait of Messina separates Sicily from Italian mainland, and it's a notoriously crazy place.
It's what they talk about in Odysseus, Scylla and Charybdis.
That's exactly what I had in my mind. It was like,
exactly what
this is where the
monsters live.
Monsters of lore.
And Kraken there.
It feels like it. I mean,
well, you see them.
You see whirlpools coming at you.
That's crazy.
And all of a sudden, the whole boat spun 90 degrees, and Wayne's like, Kevin. I'm like, I got the wheel at the lock. I'm like, there's nothing I can do. We ended up doing a full 360.
Yeah.
And coming out the other side. And there was nothing we could do about it.
So, have you guys ever seen like a big whirlpool, like a big one?
Not a really big one, no.
So
just little
they're
ones,
saying that this is a new theory of the Bermuda Triangle.
Okay.
And why so many planes and boats have disappeared is because there are big blocks of methane under the water that are frozen, and because of global warming, these big blocks will just let go, and they'll come up and they'll make all these bubbles, right? And if you get caught in this thing,
it takes your
you would
buoyancy.
sink in like 10 seconds.
Seconds.
I mean seconds, like boom, and then it goes up into the atmosphere. And also planes, they will just drop like 10,000 feet in seconds.
Yeah, they did a thing on Mythbusters about that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they put the methane gas in front of the airplane engine and like let it turn on the valve, and the thing stalled out.
Yeah.
Like you would think that methane would be flammable and stuff, but no, it's not enough for the combustion engine. I don't know about the global warming part, but I know there's a lot of petroleum seeps throughout the entire Bermuda Triangle, and I think that as the crust of the Earth moves and stuff, it creates fissures, and then all of a sudden it releases gas, and that's exactly probably what it is.
It's like natural fracking.
Do you want to know something? We were in up here in Grand Cas. We are right now in Dutch Sint Maarten, and we went up to French Grand Cas last week. Last year when we were here was when the volcano went off in the Grenadines, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And when that happened, there were like tremors throughout the Caribbean. And we were in Grand Cas, and I'm sitting there. I watched a wave develop in a center and go out in circles.
No way.
And I think a part of the bottom of the
this
harbor,
weekend?
No, last
a year ago.
1 year ago. That the bottom of the harbor just dropped like a little bit and created like its own wave. I've never seen a wave originate from a spot.
Cool.
It was cool. I was a little worried. I'm like, what happens if it drops 10 feet? Tsunami comes
I mean,
in.
you'd be okay, but what happens to all these little boats?
I don't know. We might ground out.
Be bad.
Yeah. Is it going to hurt? That's kind
Sunsets
of
last
that's
year
kind of
were
how I
really cool.
anchored this boat.
You just ground it out.
I just go until I call it anchoring by braille because I'm a cat guy. This is my first real monohull. I mean, I had a Morgan, but that wasn't even a boat.
Didn't qualify.
Yeah, and I just go until I hit, and I'm like, yeah, well, all right. I feel like after being on a monohull boat made of like plywood and one
You're
little
fine.
layer of fiberglass,
You're like,
no matter
sweet.
what I do to this boat, I cannot screw up. It doesn't matter. Like, I've grounded the shit out of it. And
Here's a recommendation.
catch it off, man. It's just paint.
If you're going to run a boat aground, make sure you do it as the tide is rising, not falling.
Yeah.
If you can't get off right away on a falling tide, you're going to be stuck there for another 6 hours.
Yeah. I don't know. Getting it on the side, that'd be kind of like,
That'd be bad.
how are you supposed to
Some of these
cook
places,
dinner?
you know that Sailing Miss Lone Star girl, like back in the day when she, in the beginning of her channel, she went up a river with her boyfriend, and they had like a Beneteau or something, and the tide went out, and they came back from their hike, and the boat was literally on its side.
Oh no, that's bad on a fin keel boat like that.
Yeah, and then when the water came back up, the water was like way over, was in danger of coming inside the boat.
And if it's in mud, it actually sucks you down. And now, it's going into your portholes and that's scary.
Yeah, so you really do have to pay attention to this stuff. The tide tables are in your phone. You get them on the internet.
Actually, there's a really good app called Tides. Tides. It's a great app. It'll give you tides for anywhere in the world.
Oh, nice.
And really nice display of it.
I like those displays.
That's how I like it.
I like it. Yeah.
Easy to understand.
I don't like the charts. The numbers.
No. I don't need numbers. I need something that shows me what's going on.
Shows the picture. Yeah.
That's actually how I make most of my YouTube videos. Is like catering it towards me. Because I like visual aids and I like anyway.
You make great videos.
Yeah,
by the way.
God, thanks, man.
Awesome.
You guys too.
You're
guys
like
are
top
awesome.
notch in your production
We're
quality.
dull as dishwater.
I appreciate. What are you talking about? You guys, I'm guarantee you're gonna get 1,000 people that are gonna be like, "Whoa, these guys are so crazy."
Post another episode. I haven't posted an episode in a month and a half.
Oh well, I'll give you this one. We can post it on both of our channels.
Okay,
for sure. Awesome. I think people just want to see like the real person behind the person. And in a YouTube video, you get 15 minutes to see your personality and it's cut up and there's a lot of visual aids and there's a lot of things going on and you make it like sound you take off all the filler words but now I can see who you really are.
Yes. And I want to take a second if I can to give some props to James because James has chased after us and helped. He just calls up and says, will you do a podcast with me? And I said, oh, of course. But then we're busy with other things and we don't do this and that. And James has been so good. I mean, when he first got his boat, he found out that we had an Oyster 45. We made contact. And
actually, you made contact with me.
I think I called James maybe, but
I
posted something on his channel about that we had a similar boat. And the next thing I know, we're talking on the phone for an hour about the boat and about Oyster and about what it's like and all of this sort of stuff, and we've been friends ever since. And in Annapolis for the boat show, James came up and visited us. It was the first time we really met him in person, and have had just an absolute time of our lives with you.
Yeah.
He's got so much energy. I mean, he's like he gets so much energy, so
concentrated.
He's got an outsized personality, and it's really fun to be with you guys. So we're so happy to have you, and you're welcome on our boat anytime.
Oh man, I love you guys. I really do.
Our tools, or whatever it takes.
And to turn that tide the other direction, you guys have been a resource for me that has helped me so much. I have not told you this yet, but from the moment we met, you've given me so much information on my boat. I spent 11 months in the yard, and I think I called you like 1,100 times. I'm serious. Like every single time I had a problem, like, hey, how do you do this? Can I do this? How do I run this wire? Where does this go? Like, you guys learning curve for this boat so much. So thank you.
Well, it's fun for us. I mean, we've got that's one of the things about this lifestyle. Is you got a lot of time on your hands, right? I mean, you read books.
Kevin's a know-it-all.
Well, no,
he's a smart guy.
You're
a smart girl too.
There's two ways.
Yeah, but he's really smart about the boat.
There's two ways of doing this. You can either have a really big checkbook and get ripped off a lot, because the people that you hire don't know what they're doing any more than you ever did, and they break things, and then they just don't. It just doesn't work very well. Like after a month or something, it stops working. Or you can do it yourself, and doing it yourself is hard too. But at least if it breaks later on, I've been fixing this generator for the last month, and has an intermittent electrical problem with the starter, and I bought another starter, but I kept on wanting to use the one that was there because it was like intermittent. If I could just find out what the electrical part that wasn't.
That's how
fitting.
my engine is actually.
Yeah, and then finally I just said screw it and put the new starter in, and it's been great ever since. But now, if there's a starter, I know so much about every last
needs
little
to know about
detail
a Fisher
about
a generator,
Fisher
man.
pin or starter.
We know everything.
The start circuit. It's just
Not only that, you went through and rewired. I mean,
you
like
might be
went
halfway
through and
across the
cleaned
Atlantic.
every wire.
Yeah. That's the
and
thing.
reconnected it
And I think that's why
cleaned it,
we all get
multimetered
along.
it, yeah.
We have that novelty-seeking, learning personality where this lifestyle really goes with my personality because I need to learn all the time and I need to be challenged. And it's never
It's a test.
ending.
Exactly.
I get challenged every time I do anything.
Yeah.
And when you think it's going to take 2 days, it's going to take 6 days.
Yeah, the other day James was just freaking out, like with his head stay and stuff, and he was saying, "I hate this boat. Everything I do with this boat, I just can't ever get anything to work right." And I know the feeling because boats are this way, and I think the older they are, the more likely fasteners are to be seized, and electrical connections are to kind of start to get a little crusty and not have lose their conductivity, and so electrical problems and diesel engine problems are kind of like the standard of the day. All the time you're having to do these, fix these things, and yet there's pride of ownership if you successfully fix the problem, and then I've installed all the electronics on this boat. I've been working with the fuel filters and the fuel tank and everything else that goes with fuel system for forever. And I think that usually when a problem comes up at this point, there's hardly a system on this boat that I haven't had my hands on.
So wait, whoa. I'm going to stop you right there because I know the question that everybody's asking themselves right now. Were you a boat manufacturing technician before?
No.
Like, how did you learn all this shit? Can I learn it myself? How hard is it to learn?
I've always been mechanically minded. I grew up when my grandfather had a farm, and I had an old Jeep, like World War II surplus Jeep up there that needed repair all the time.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah, and so I have a little bit more experience with that sort of stuff. But I'm a college guy who worked in banking. It wasn't really my job to fix mechanical things. But with boats, I think it doesn't really matter. You can be pretty good. You call yourself a mechanic on the intro to your stuff, and I think that's a huge thing. You have to be somewhat mechanically minded and at least be able to understand, like, that you're getting ready to strip out a screw or a fastener or break something. Just having that, that feel, that mechanical feel. I never really knew very much about electronics, but I've got 5 multimeters on this boat. I have, and each of those has been they've increased in price and quality each time that I found I needed some feature that the old tool didn't have. And I keep the other ones around because in case I break it or whatever, I'll have a backup. But you're a marine electrician probably first and foremost. Almost everything on these boats revolves around electrical. If there's a problem with it, if it stops working, it's almost always that you're just tracing it back, finding out why isn't it getting power. And then going to the beginning of the wire and seeing if you get power there, going to the breaker and seeing if you get power there, going to the battery and see if the battery terminal post is on.
Yeah.
Literally like tracing it back.
Ground working.
Yeah.
That was one of our problems.
Yeah.
Half the
sure.
problem is to figure out, like, where do I start this journey? Like, okay, it goes from here to here to here to here to here. Do I test here or do I test here?
Yeah. And then not missing a step because that's the one that's going to be the problem.
Yeah.
We see kind of non-mechanical people with a lot of money, people who are in tech and stuff, go and just buy a brand new, catamaran or a monohull, and that's their supposed, in their mind's eye, that's their solution to this. That they're gonna basically buy something new, and therefore everything's gonna work fine and it won't be a problem. And I'm like, it's not gonna.
No, it
it's
doesn't
not
work
gonna
that
be
way.
like that.
Sorry, buddy.
It's a boat.
You buy a boat
car.
new, and you're gonna get a punch list like you do with a house. And sometimes the manufacturer will actually fix those things, and other times not. I would recommend that if you're buying a new boat and it has a punch list that's material, don't accept delivery of the boat until they fixed it.
Or at least don't pay the rest.
Don't pay that last payment until it is fully ready to go.
Yeah.
Because they'll want you to say, oh, well, you just get it fixed in the Bahamas and send us a bill.
No, it doesn't work
It's
that
not
way.
going to happen.
No.
They're not going to pay.
Never do it.
They're gonna punt and say, well, the person didn't do it right, and all of this. And so I think buying a new boat has its own. I would honestly, if I was trying to go that route, I would buy a boat that was 1 or 2 years old.
Like
One
you get
One that's been fully commissioned.
Someone's broken it in for you. Done the
and I
punch
bet you
list.
get like a 25% discount
At
off
least,
off the sticker
Oh yeah, it
price.
depreciates immediately.
Yeah.
The second you walk off the floor with a car.
Same thing with the car. Yep. Good analogy.
Yep. So, but there's going to be, and then they just think that money can buy everything.
Yeah.
That they can just go and hire somebody. And I'm like, right here, this is like the center of having boat work done of the Caribbean, and yet you have to step lightly when it comes to who you hire. There's people that suck. There's people that are great. There's people that, and there's not a whole lot of connection between what they're charging. Yeah, they could be the worst person charging the most money, or the best person charging the least. You just never know.
How do you know?
Well, you ask around.
Yeah.
You talk to
make
the other
some
cruisers.
friends.
Yeah.
You make some friends like Kevin Wendy.
Yeah. Or the people that you meet at the bar.
Yeah.
Soggy Dollar Bar here.
All our dudes at the bar, they're
the ones.
What they do for their life. That's what they do for their.
All,
I don't know if you want to hire those guys because they're kind of big drinkers, but they actually.
As long as you hire them between the hours of 9 a.m. and like 1 p.m.
Yeah, exactly.
Not after 5:01.
They start drinking at about 2. So. No, it's I think that you're best off if you are self-sufficient. You really want in this world. If you're planning on doing offshore sailing, you really have to be self-sufficient. And our boat is filled with spares. We have an extra pump for every pump that we have on our boat. We have rebuild kits for the Jabsco toilets. We've got tools I've got like 5 big bags of tools. I've got tap and die sets. I've got fasteners that you would find at Napa or.
So a lot of people can go online and find all this list, but the problem is how do they get the skills to know how to use this shit? Like
the more you practice, the luckier you get.
But that's the thing. Like, what's your advice to these people that are just starting out? Like, they have never sailed, they've never been on a boat before.
Okay,
they want to do what we're doing.
Let's talk about female single-handed sailing for a second. There's a White Spots Pirates channel. She's a single-handed sailor who doesn't really know a whole lot about mechanical stuff. At least she didn't in the beginning. German girl, and she took this like steel boat, this Carl boat that she has down in Panama. And at one point, she pulled out the exhaust hosing, which is a huge job. She outsourced to have some guy come and weld some plates onto the bottom of her boat where the steel was getting thin.
I think her boat's aluminum.
Is it aluminum?
Yeah.
Okay. Then aluminum welding. It's even more kind of technical. She understands the limits of her abilities, but she sits there and she installed a windlass one time, and she's sitting there reading the directions, and she read it all the way through, and she learned on the internet how to use an electrical probe, electrical multimeter, and just worked the problem all the way through. And I'm so respectful of that. I mean, that's how you do it. And then with time, you develop the skill sets that you need. That's all it is. And
there's a ton of stuff on YouTube, though.
A ton of stuff on YouTube. If there's almost no problem on YouTube, what was I looking at this morning? I had something. I went, the solar panel connectors are these things called MC4 connectors, right? And there's a special crimping tool that you need for this. And
is there really?
Yeah, and
I never knew that.
I just ordered one and sent it to our next guests to bring out. But without doing this crimping, I understand from doing these types of things long enough that if you don't crimp this pin properly, it won't fit back into the body. If you're trying to do it with needle noses or
it's a pain in the ass.
It's not going to work. But if you crimp it, it's the same thing with an RG45 jack tool. If you're not using the right tool for the job, you cannot do this manually on your own. And so it's and that brings up a whole other problem, which is internet connectivity.
Yeah.
And everywhere you go, it's the bane of our existence. Trying to get, you can toggle off your phone and all this stuff, but you run out of gigs. Your internet runs out on you, and you're spending all your time in restaurants and bars with your phone open and your laptop there.
Ask me how much money I spent on internet this month.
How much money did you spend on internet, James? Tell us.
All right, so I have a Google Fi plan that cost me $118 last month. I also went here and I bought 2 Digicel cards, one for me and one for Anna. Those were €60, and those sucked. And then I found the real place to go. That was €200 for 250 gigabytes for a month and a half, Wow. It's called Dauphine. It's a French place. It's a French place. Yeah, okay. It's only on this island, but it actually goes everywhere.
250 gigs is good. Yeah.
It's for less than $1 a gig is ridiculously cheap. Yeah. And everywhere else, their flown plan is $4 a gig. Yeah. Anyway, what does that add to? $250 plus €120, which is $130. That's $380 plus. My Google Fi, $500. I spent $500 on internet this month. Oh my God, I want to puke.
Yeah. Comcast Comcast like full package HBO and everything for less than that.
Oh yeah. I need HBO.
Back in the States.
If only Elon Musk would get us our little
Starlink.
transponder.
Oh yeah.
Starlink
That's happening for
transponder.
boats. Have you guys seen what's happening with that?
Well, the last I saw was they were not allowing it for mobile use, which was
Well, they're putting it on
ridiculous.
gimbals now, and they're making
he
it
had that.
happen.
It was,
yeah.
He had that.
It was the FCC was
but
the
the
problem.
FCC wasn't allowing
Here in the
him to
islands, it's
sell
probably
it.
fine. I imagine that's
To
probably
be on a boat and have that would be so sick, man. Can you
Dude,
imagine
I
doing a
want
live
one
stream
so
from the
badly.
sea?
What's
Like,
happening with Musk and the rest of it is that the existing competitors to that in
Are,
that
I'm
market
sure,
space,
screaming.
KVH and the rest of them, those big domes that you see on the super
Yeah.
yachts, those people are paying insane amounts of money for full,
yeah, I think they're paying $1,000 a gigabyte.
yeah, they're paying some
Something I've
insane
seen.
amount of money, and those entrenched operators don't want to give that up, and so they're really trying to throw everything at Musk that they can, but he's got a lot invested.
Go Elon, go!
Yeah,
Go, buddy.
I mean,
I
he
love
just-
that guy.
You
He's
can come be on our boat
he's
anytime.
a crazy guy.
He's awesome,
just,
man.
he is funny. He's the actual living Tony Stark.
I think that him and
In my
Joe
view.
Rogan are like my favorite people.
Yeah,
I wish I was.
exactly.
I wish I was the love child between the two.
So who would be the wife? Who would be the mom? Actually,
No, no.
Oh, shush!
Come on,
Don't even
come
want
on,
to know.
come on. Who would be-
Obviously, Elon.
No, not between the two of them.
No, that's who I want to be my mom and
Female
dad.
mom. Who would you want? Who's the female?
No.
who
The
actually
whole
births
point.
you?
The whole point of this conversation was they should have a love child. It's like
can't.
if Brad Pitt and
No matter
Tony
how
Stark
much you
had
tell me
a.
a transgender person can have a baby, it ain't happening. Oh,
I'm just saying,
Stop.
Joe's
Stop, kids! Too much
more manly than
information.
Elon. I love Elon. I love you, buddy. But
Joe has to be the guy.
yeah,
No,
All
Joe is a
right.
big swinging
It's all
dick,
good.
as they say.
I'm sure Elon's big enough man to take. A
he'd
little
probably laugh.
humor,
Yeah.
Elon's definitely a little bit Asperger's. You know,
But he's
so
So
funny.
cool.
I don't,
shit.
I mean, there's parts of him I don't like. I mean, he's a billionaire oligarch like the rest of them, but but I do think that
You're gonna get us canceled, baby.
the Ukrainian people said we need Starlink dishes, and he's like, they're
Okay.
on their way.
Cool.
Literally like
Done.
that, like literally
How
by
cool
text.
is
They're
that?
on their way, and then the following day, like 24 hours later, this huge military truck, they're like unpacking the boxes out the back.
I think that everybody in life is on the spectrum a little bit. You just have to figure out where. And actually, I think you're a little bit on the spectrum. Just like
completely.
if there was 100%, you're completely normal. Kevin is probably like 96% normal.
96%. You're gonna give me that? That's good. I'll take it.
85.
85. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well,
Oh, I'm a
you
total-
live with them.
What is the other? What is it? Asperger's. What's the other one? It's
Well, you're ADD.
No.
I'm totally ADD.
He's OCD and ADD all at the same time.
No. He's talking about being a savant, autistic.
A
yeah.
savant. He's
autism.
an idiot savant, all right.
I'm a savant of some sort. A village is missing
You're
its
a very,
idiot
very
someplace.
smart person. Yeah. Yeah. I thought you were a lawyer. I like somehow I got it in my
don't say
head.
that.
No,
That's
no,
just
seriously. No, because I had talked to you a few times. I'm like, good God, this guy's
excellent
very
arguer.
smart.
What's the difference between a dead dog on the road and a dead lawyer on the road? There's tire tracks, like skidding tire tracks in front of the dog.
Yeah, I really did think you were a lawyer. And for the first maybe 6 months of me being friends with you, I was like, wow, I need to like up my game. I might have to speak the Queen's English when I talk to Kevin.
No.
And come to find out, you were a investment.
I did commercial banking. I
Commercial
was
banking,
doing
that's right.
interest rate risk management for a large commercial bank. But then I got into real estate development. That was really kind
That's
of
what I was talking about. Real estate development.
That's probably like more like hands-on stuff. Like, I was on the job site telling the guys what I was looking for quality and everything else.
And were you working for a big company, or
For a while I did. Yeah, I worked for a big development company in
Then you
Boulder,
went on your
Colorado,
own.
and then I eventually went out on my own and then retired. When he was with American Express. I mean, with this life, to be absolutely honest, it really helps to save up money and retire and be able to do the life. James, I have to give him props. He manages to basically rally people to help him with this. And it is a full-time job.
case in point, I'm here right now.
I watch him do it, and it is a lot of meet and greet and allowing people to share his life, which is really the key to it. There's so many people that want to live this life vicariously. They may not be able to do it themselves at the moment. They may not ever be able to.
Yeah.
A lot of our followers, I know several of them are in like, retirement homes or
Hospice.
or in wheelchairs or something like this, or have reasons why they can't ever go out sailing, and they just, I try to always answer every comment that comes in on our thing, because those people need that. They need that touch back. It's what makes the whole thing worthwhile for them. And none of us would put this stuff out there and embarrass ourselves, honestly, the way we do when things don't go right.
You understand.
Yeah. And people say, well, why did you do that? I'm like, I just didn't know any better. I was an idiot.
Hindsight is always 20/20. Yeah. It's really
completely.
easy.
I should have known.
I got this
Don't
comment.
go up the mast in the wind, huh?
Oh yeah, when I came over here, actually, I had gone and bought a cable because I need one more for this mic, and I came back and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna set everything up. I'm gonna get it ready to go. I'm just gonna go buy this cable, guys. And I come back and Kevin's up the mast. I'm like, what are you doing, dude?
Replacing bulbs.
Yeah, we're supposed to have a podcast right now, man.
Get down here.
I thought it was honestly going to take him all day. When he left, he wasn't taking any direction on where the place was. He had no idea where he was going to dock his thing. I'm like, he's going to be gone for hours.
It's an island, bro.
I know, it's not that big. It's still an island. It's big enough.
All I gotta do is just ask people. By the way, I parked my boat where all those yellow dinghy things park.
Yeah,
and I was just, yo, bro, can I park here? And they're like, no. Maybe over here. And I'm like, yeah, man, thank you. I'm going to be 5 minutes. And they were cool. They were super cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
If you ask, it's the same
they
thing in
mostly-
Colorado.
yeah.
You ask to hunt on someone's land. If you walk up to the door and ask them, they'll probably say yes. But if they catch you doing it without asking,
They'll
they're
shoot you.
Pissed. Yeah. So, but the whole thing about how do you finance this is a big deal. I think you have to bring a good personality to it. That's where I fall down.
Oh, come on. Shut up.
I got Wendy, luckily.
Yeah, thank God.
But it's a very, very expensive lifestyle. I mean, like, a week doesn't go by. We don't live extravagant lives, believe me. But a week doesn't go by when some expensive thing breaks, and your water maker needs new membranes. It's like $1,000. You need this fixed. It's $500. You need that fixed. It's another $500.
Can you put a price to it? I mean, like...
Yeah, Wendy can. I'm afraid to have her do it, though.
How much does it cost per month?
I would say we...
Amortized over a year. How much is it a month?
Over a year.
For this boat, because this is an expensive boat. This is not a cheap boat.
I'm going to say we spend $30,000 a year in equipment and maintenance.
But that's not counting food?
That's not food at all, or travel.
Or drinking.
That is not drinking. That is not staying in a marina. It's $30,000 for the parts.
And do you guys...
We do most of the work.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's no labor.
I can't remember the
That's
last
just-
time we hired someone to do something.
Well, today we hired somebody to do something. They're fixing our
they're
dinghy.
fixing our dinghy.
Oh, that's an art.
And there'll probably be $300 for that when it's said and done, because
Worth it, bro. There's
worth
a
it
few
completely.
things. There's a few things in this life where you need to pay
Well,
somebody
here's the thing
else.
with the dinghy is I kept on doing these hypalon repairs myself, and the freaking patch would come off in a week or something.
Yeah.
And
Leak
and,
again.
and I was following the directions exactly like it said, and I don't know. I just wasn't doing something right. I mean, these guys heat it up with heat guns and do all this stuff,
And they have a special machine with the special burr bit,
Yeah.
and they burr it all out,
all
and then
done right.
they
Stick it
clamp
on.
it with their huge clamps that they have.
They have all sorts of stuff that makes it so it comes out right, and
It's like buying cheap toilet paper.
Yeah.
Don't buy the cheap toilet paper, man.
Yeah, but only the cheap toilet paper is all stuff that'll flush down the toilet. But I think doing the life, you've got to you can't jump into this. We've seen many, and James can attest to this, we've seen many sailing channels go by the wayside over the years. We've been doing ours now for longer than we've owned the boat. I mean, ours goes back into when we had our Catalina.
Are you serious? Really?
Yeah, we actually
Wow.
started doing it mostly for family and friends, but
Cool.
Oh,
We did-
totally for
we did
family
so
and
much
friends. We
work.
couldn't believe that anybody would have any interest in a couple of yahoos on a lake in Colorado. But people.
We had this dead boat and we fixed it up. And
People
it was
wanted
super
to
fun.
see like what does it take?
They really do want to see it. There's a guy that does Catalina 22 improvements, and that's all he does. And he's got huge views. People are very much into that. And in all honesty, doing that, taking a boat that you can screw up with and not feel like it's the end of the world, was a great
huge.
way for us to understand fiberglass repair, teak, how to finish teak. Teak is a very oily wood to actually put finish on it. It's hard. It takes, you got to get the right products. You got to prep the wood properly, all of this stuff. There's almost nothing on board this boat where there isn't a process. Even putting like stainless steel fasteners into aluminum, if you're not using Tef gel and stuff, give it a season or two and that thing will be absolutely solidified in there and seized, and you'll never get it out again. There is a lot that you can do, and most of what James and I fight with on our boats is people putting this stuff together a long time ago with no real thought to what it would be like later on down the road. And that's the issue that you have with the local people, because they're not actually on the boat very much. The guy, and this is true of the marina employees as well, when you're coming in and there's what they would call a marinero in Europe would be like somebody, a deckhand who's going to help you, a marina dock guy, and they're telling you, turn the wheel left, more throttle, less throttle.
Yeah,
These guys
don't listen to
have a
those
clue
guys.
what they're talking
Yeah,
about.
no.
These guys have never docked a boat before in their life and never will.
It took me
Hell of
years
ours.
to
Yeah.
not listen to those guys because they have no idea what they're saying.
no idea.
When you have someone yelling to you from the dock,
Throw your bow line. No.
do not listen to them. You do you. You do your captain thing, and
Yeah, for
For
sure.
lightweight boats that they can just pull in.
yeah.
You're like standing there, and the guy's like standing at the bow, and you're like, no, I need the stern line. That's where the
Stern
wind
line
is.
first,
That's
yeah.
the windward line.
Exactly.
Tie that first. And they're standing there going, what? And they're like reluctant to go do it. It's like, and
Yeah.
Wendy's back there like, she's gotten
like-
really good at like hooking a cleat from the boat.
Oh yeah,
She
yeah.
like, throws
because
a loop
they
off of
won't-
it.
They look
I
at
can
me.
see her like
Yeah,
with
she
the cowboy
lasso
hat
the
on,
thing, yeah.
lassoing it. You're a badass, man.
I have had so many times they look at me like, well, you're a little lady and you don't know which line to throw. And I'm like, take this line. And they're like,
Okay.
well, what did the big man in the back say? I'm like, you're about to get lassoed. Like, throw this around you, whip you into the water.
How cool would that video be?
Throw a big
Wait,
monkey-
do you
throw a
even know what
giant
you're doing?
monkey's fist right at 'em.
Wow! And then just throw him in the water and then hook the cleat. Oh my god, I want to do that video now.
It'll be like hog tie. Like
tie,
basically like
yeah.
lasso them by their feet, like tie their
Time
hands.
to
Throw
the yeah.
your hand up when you're done.
Yeah, and then we can do like a doodly thing where
Yeah.
he gets sucked into the bow thruster
Yeah.
and like come out as fish bait.
Fish chum, yeah.
Yeah, fish
Oh
chum.
my god.
Speaking of bow thrusters, the other day they were doing.
Oh my God.
The divers were off these big super yachts, and they were trying to unhook the chains and the anchors
Yeah,
from each
somebody
other.
jumped a-
And one of the big super yachts came in on the bridge opening and just backed right on into the adjacent spot at the marina without talking to anybody. And
Dropped their anchor.
they started using their bow thruster, and the tunnel's like this big on the thing.
Yeah.
The diver was holding onto the chain for dear life. He was trying to suck him into the bow
Oh,
thruster.
can you imagine?
No, they were pissed. They were pissed. The guy's up there waving this dive flag at him, and the person on the deckhand was
"Hi."
just like waving back.
Hi.
Hi.
So
Death is about to occur.
Even on the super yachts, like there's idiocy around.
Yeah. Woohoo!
Let me tell you something. If you suck a diver up into your bow thruster when there was a dive flag present, you are going to never
should
get a
know
job
better.
You're
ever
screwed.
again. That's
Yeah.
going to be it. You're going to be.
Totally
And-
know better.
The liability of it is going to be all on you. And
Oh man.
you just, this is the other thing about this is this is a lifestyle that penalizes stupid all day long. And most of what I've done to damage this boat has been stupid. And sometimes it's stupid. I just didn't know any better. I one time turned on the genset while the engine was running, and I didn't realize that, or was it the other way around?
Well, you turned the power on so that it was
Whatever the genset and the engine
engine were
alternator
both
were
putting
both
in-
sending power into the battery bank, and it blew out the external voltage regulator on the engine. Luckily, we had one, but it wasn't ready to take 160 amps of power.
Yeah.
280 amp an 80 amp alternator and an 80 amp battery charger running at the same time. I had no idea that they didn't talk to each other.
Yeah.
I found out real quick.
You're lucky you
because
didn't burn the
almost
boat
caught
down.
fire. It
Yeah,
blew that thing
exactly.
up. It was like shooting flames out the side of it. We've got a video about it.
No, yeah. Oh, cool.
yeah. It's one
Okay,
of our
that's
videos.
linked right here.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it. It didn't see the fire coming out or anything. It was after that, but we show the the voltage regulator, the side's all scorched and everything, and
Yeah.
little things like that. I mean, it's just nowadays. I mean, the boats that are being built today, I think they're probably more planned. But right now, lithium batteries are coming online. Things that the engineers had
I
no
love
idea
lithium.
about.
I gotta say, lithium is
We're
the
shopping
best
right
thing.
now.
You
We're
have to
looking
get
at
it. I don't ever look at my my battery monitoring system. I have one of those 712 Victron,
Yeah.
the best one you can buy. I stopped looking at that like months ago, man. As soon as I got the lithium hooked up.
He's still my heart.
I mean, I did for the first few days, or not few days, probably like a month every day. But then it was just like, why am I even looking at this thing? I don't even care. It's just going.
Amazing.
Okay, guys, listen.
We've drunk a whole bottle of rum.
We have
Drunk an entire
We have
bottle.
drunk a whole bottle of rum, which is amazing, actually. Which this is only 20% rum, so it's not.
It's
It's not like drinking a whole bottle. And
But it's got coffee in it. The other 20%.
yeah.
is
We're gonna be
coffee.
up all night.
right now we're at an hour and 39 minutes, and this is the second time that I've started this thing. So I think we're at over 2 hours. So you're making my job harder by keep going, okay? Everybody wants to hear more. Next time we meet up, we'll have another one of these.
Well, it's been wonderful to have James with us. He brought all of his camera gear over to our boat and made everything so easy for us. And here we just sit back and get the benefit of it.
That's the
but
beautiful thing. I
really-
love listening to you
I
guys.
just love being with James. James is a great person.
I love you,
Oh, you guys are so
James.
good to me.
I know it, I know
All
it.
right, so if these guys want to know more about you guys, where do they go?
Sailing Out Talisman or Sailing Talisman, either one, it'll come up.
Is our YouTube channel.
Is our YouTube channel. We don't do too much else. We have our email address in the About tab. If you want to contact us, you're welcome to do so if you have a specific question. But I do try to answer all comments that come in. That's just it. It's just a lifestyle thing, and we're kind of boring. We don't have the we don't have the drama. We try to be the low drama channel whenever we can. We don't want to sink
Can
our
I hit him
boat.
now?
Or
Yeah,
catch
yeah,
fire.
hit him.
We're selling our boat. I can't do this anymore. This is terrible.
Oh my god. You guys are awesome. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the support. Thank you for being there for me through my entire refit. You guys were so fundamental to me keeping my sanity through owning this thing, and I really appreciate it. I'd love to meet you guys later on, and I'd love to have you guys on the next adventure
Come
I'm
on
going
down
to
to
be on.
Antigua. We'll be there till the end of the season.
Well, I think your guys are going to come crew for me.
I would
We're
like
gonna
to.
try.
Yeah.
We're gonna see if we can make that work.
I would love to have that
It's coming
happen.
up fast though. He
Yeah,
says like
June.
he's
That's
talking about
crazy.
next month or something.
Yeah, well, you know what's crazy is the guy that I had a podcast with, the Ocean Cruisers podcast, Andy, he wants to come, and he lives
Oh,
in
really?
Spain. He
Andy
knows
who?
Andy H., the guy that does the Ocean Cruisers podcast.
Does he the guy that has the two swans?
He has a... No, I don't think he has a
So
swan.
Ice Bear and the other one. The viewers.
Oh
are
no
gonna
no!
Jump on that right away.
You're
and say-
thinking of something
guy.
else.
That's a
Somebody
different
else.
Andy.
That's it.
Yeah.
Andy and his wife. They do like
No. You're talking about
a
69
charter.
degrees.
Yeah,
Yeah,
69 degrees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those guys hang out in Antigua and Falmouth a lot, and I got a chance to talk to him for about 1 second. He was in the middle of something else, but those guys are great.
Yeah.
Those guys do a good job. They're serious about what they do.
Well, this guy's cool too, and he's going to join me on the Azores to
Yeah.
Ibiza leg.
Okay. Awesome.
And so, whenever you guys want to come, if you can make it, I would love to have
see
you
if
guys
we can
crew.
make it
That
happen.
might be a cool thing to do a portion of it instead of the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'll be great.
You don't want to do the whole
I want
thing.
to do the part from Gibraltar to Ibiza.
Yeah, done. Okay. Yeah, seriously.
See Ibiza
Yeah.
from Gibraltar.
Yeah, but imagine how fun that would
Get there
be.
for the party.
Yeah, come in for the party.
I'll just
Absolutely.
be at Ibiza.
Yeah.
By the way,
Spa.
you can't see Ibiza from Gibraltar.
Yeah, but it's not that far.
But
I'll be
it's
at the
not
spa
like
waiting.
crossing
Yeah.
the ocean.
Drinking my champagne.
Yeah.
Oh, James.
Oh,
Good
that's
show.
Is this downwind sailing?
Yes.
No, you got to bring your party clothes, man. You got to be ready to like party with the playboys. and
Not
the
party
hotties
clothes.
and-
Every sequence,
The
baby. Pirate party, man.
if you don't think
Pirate
good money
clothes.
and if you don't think good looks and big money don't go together, you should like go sometime to Ibiza. I always say stop at the bus station on the way to the airport.
Yeah.
But if you really want to see how it works, go to Ibiza. in the Balearic Islands, the Spanish Balearic Islands in the Med. OMG, that is like super yachts. It's like Saint-Tropez.
It's crazy.
It is.
It's for the young people.
It's young party crowd.
It's for all of us. It's for all of us.
We knew it was time for us to leave when we saw them setting up a band shell with speakers that looked like a Rolling Stones concert. Seriously, like an arc of speakers, basically 20 wide and like 15 high, just like arrayed up on the backside of this thing. And we're like, holy shit, that is going to be the most loudest concert place ever.
Perfect.
Our
marina.
boat is right at the place where it all like focuses. The focal point of all the sound.
Our boat was going to explode.
I wonder if they have any bass in that.
Whatever happened to that YouTube channel, Sailing Talisman?
They got exploded.
Yeah.
That boat sank in Ibiza.
Yeah.
After
all right.
Vibrated apart.
Much love, you guys. Thank you very much for the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
We need to end it here.
All
Unfortunately, I'm sure most of the people that are still
Hopefully
listening
half of this could be
but I don't think I'm going to edit any of this. But I think half of the people that are listening right now would actually listen to us for like 3 hours.
I would hope so.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This has been an awesome episode. Much love to Kevin and Wendy, and stay tuned for the next time. Terrific. Peace, love.